Good morning. Got a situation to wherein if you missed the all-important prep staff, we want to bring you up to speed versus us trying to reconfigure the company. And we want to kind of give you the agenda of what you missed on yesterday during the prep staff. First item on the agenda was providing study guides or rubrics for your midterm assessments. If you plan on giving a midterm exam or a midterm assessment, we do ask that you in fact provide students with study guides or also a rubric if it's some sort of project, essay, etc. Also, if we have students who are failing your course, we are going to ask that you reach home to parents versus just assuming that the parent knows that their child is not doing well. We all know how that ends up. So reach out via email, telephone call, and contact parents. And then I'm asking you to document through a call log that you have in fact made contact with the parent and let that parent know that their student is not performing well and is in jeopardy of failing your course. Also, one good thing to note is that we want to see you continue to teach bell to bell. I've been in classes, and I can promise you that teachers are doing a phenomenal job, certainly with the essential questions or the bell ringers, keeping the kids immersed throughout the lesson, providing meaningful and engaging activities. And then, of course, at the culmination of the lesson, exit, strategies in respect to making them do a summative analysis, an exit ticket to leave, etc., to know that the student, in fact, has grasped what it is you tried to teach for that particular lesson. And unfortunately, we've been in some classes as well to wherein the kids are lined up at the door on their cell phones, and there's still 3 to 5 minutes left in the course. Folks, this is a no-no. If you're looking to leave Pinson Valley High School, continue doing what you're doing, because I can promise you we're not going to accept that. You have to do a better job of teaching bell to bell instead of winding down and allowing 5, 10, 15 minutes after every single lesson to end your class where kids are doing absolutely nothing. Unacceptable. And there's only a handful of teachers that are doing this, and we're going to ask that you address this immediately. And it's always better to overplan than underplan. And also that'll help you with your classroom management and discipline as well. Keep students in class. Too many students still wandering the halls without passes. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if you have a policy wherein you just allow students to get up and leave. I don't know, but I'm going to tell you one thing. We're going to start marching students back to class and trying to figure out why in the world you've let this student out of your class. Certainly, if it's an emergency, we get it. But just to allow a student just to, hey, I forgot this, or hey, I forgot that, or I need to go talk to such and such, inexcusable. Moving fast forward, I know that Mr. Cofield has sent out a email in respect to textbook inventories. Folks, if you do not inventory your textbooks, they're going to walk off. We're finding textbooks all over the campus, in the field house, in the gymnasiums, you name it, we find them. So the reality is if you do an inventory, then you'll have a better understanding and appreciation of who's being responsible and who's not, so we can certainly make sure that that student, if they have, in fact, lost or destroyed a textbook, that we can make sure that that student financially provides restitution. Also, speaking of restitution, class fees. If you have a class that certainly fees are attached, then you want to get with Ms. Muncher and make sure that the students who, in fact, have not paid their fees, you can get in front of this. Because if not, and once they're going out of your class, let me just go on and tell you, you're not going to collect, and I'm not a bill collector. So you need to do your part in making sure that you know which students are in your classes that have not paid their fees yet, okay? Sterilizing of classrooms. Believe it or not, there's a bug going around. I know that Mr. Cofield had some sort of eye, if you will, irritation. We also had a couple other folks that they have had, some sort of sty. I know staff is fairly common. Certainly want to make sure that you do your part in sterilizing the classroom, wiping desks, door handles, etc., especially as the weather turns. It's going to be important that you keep up on that, okay? Also, keeping your eye now current. I've been in looking at grades, and I can see certainly that some of you have done a phenomenal job, while others haven't had anything posted in iNow for several weeks now. We have parents that check iNow regularly, and certainly if you're not putting in grades, then we can't follow, the parents can't follow, and we don't know what's going on with your students in that class. Report tardies every single block. Again, there's a number of students that are abusing their privileges of transition with the warning bell, and certainly dragging into class. They're trying to get with their boyfriend or girlfriend. A little lovey-dovey going on. Let me just go on and tell you that up front. And we're trying to herd them into your classes, but we need you certainly standing outside your door and directing traffic, if that makes sense. So please help us report the tardies so we can address them. RTI PST documentation. Folks, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, when I look at these Fs, and I'm not saying that the Fs may not have been earned. Certainly, they probably have been earned. But I need you to provide documentation to show what you've done Tier 2 and Tier 3 to address these students in respect to the deficits that are occurring in your classroom. The days of just simply failing a student and keeping it pushing is no longer acceptable. And this is not just Mike Turner or not just Jefferson County. This is the Alabama State Department of Education that has mandated that we follow through with the RTI protocol. So meaning, if you fail a kid, by golly, you better have some documentation to show that you tried something in an effort to meet that student's needs. I got to make that very clear. Provide documentation to make sure that you have attempted to meet that student's needs. Now, folks, I'm not saying give grades. Don't misconstrue what I'm saying. But I'm saying our job, when we got in this profession, is to try to help kids. That being said, let's move on. Compass Learning is a tool, speaking of strategies, that you can utilize not at the end when they've already received a grade of F, but as they're struggling through a particular unit, where you can look at that unit, see that that student has struggled through these standards, and put them on Compass to provide some remediation. Educate Alabama. We've been talking about Educate Alabama. Everybody should have their self-assessments done. You should have chosen 1.3, 2.7, and one other, or both. And then at the end of the day, make sure that you went in there and filled it out correctly. Click sign, and then alert one of the administrators that you have completed so we can follow up and sign. Folks, this was due Friday of last week. We need to get on board if we haven't got on board, and let's get this thing finished ASAP. Also, professional development. If there's an opportunity for professional development, whether it be on campus or off campus, we are asking that you take advantage of this opportunity and make sure that you are doing your due diligence and trying to provide some professional learning so you can take that back to your classroom and help students. Also, on tomorrow and also Friday and Monday of next week, we are doing MDC and also LDC PLCs. I know that Mr. Cofield, along with folks from the central office, are going to be here for CTE PLCs. And folks, there are some very valuable instruction going on, and it's imperative that you do your part in an effort to make sure that you're not only receiving this information, but in implementing this information in your classroom with your students. I know I've covered a lot, but I wanted to bring you up to speed. Certainly you were not allowed, or should I say able, to be at the prep staff on yesterday, so we want to try to do our part to deliver this information. I also provided a learning styles inventory. You're more than welcome to come by and pick this up. Also, we have WIDA standards, and certainly with our ESL population, you want to make sure that you're doing your part in understanding the WIDA standards that are in place and that are going to help you to better meet those students' needs as they're coming to you with their own set of deficits. We have Mr. Cofield, ladies and gentlemen, here. Mr. Cofield, do you have anything you'd like to share with the faculty via my new digital delivery of prep staff?
Yes, sir. We will also use the digital delivery for the Academy Talk with Mr. King, our industrial systems instructor, and Ms. Moore. English 9. So looking forward to that as soon as we can. Maybe I'm thinking. I think Miss Hyatt is going to be a key hookup there, and then when we can get with her, I think she gets back in a couple of days. We'll deliver that video clip to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cofield. Again, we wish you a productive day, the rest of the week, certainly, and let's do our absolute very best to make sure that we certainly not only meet the needs of our students, but more importantly, that we model and represent what it is we expect. One last note, discipline. We've been able to, Mr. Yarman, being able to track the discipline. Folks, our 9th and 10th grade students are exhibiting behavior completely unacceptable, defiance of authority, certainly disrespect. And if you teach 9th grade students, we're going to ask that you go ahead and snatch them up. Put them in check. We don't mind doing the discipline on the front end, but we got to get control of these 9th and 10th graders that are out of control in our building, and we got to do a better job of making sure that these students understand what protocols and obviously what policies and procedures are in place. If you have any questions, please feel free, as always, to contact administration and allow us to address these questions or concerns you may have. That being said, here at Pinson Valley High School.
If I may.
Yes.
Also, with discipline, particularly with 9th and 10th graders, the things that we are always harping on, such as cell phones. I know we make a lot of announcements on cell phones, dress code, and some of those nuts and bolts of daily student life and discipline. Folks, help us in the halls, if you will. You are the first line of defense in pretty much any discipline situation. Please help us out with that. Please notify us when you take up a cell phone so that we can collect that, and therefore you are not accountable for that. Also, another thing, particularly with 9th and 10th graders, if you're taking them anywhere en masse, and really any teacher with any class, if you're taking anyone anywhere as a group, please lead them in the hall. Please line them up and take them such as to and from the cafeteria, the gym, or wherever it is you may be going. So thank you very much, Mr. Turner.
Good point. Again, we're going to promote achievement, respect, and success, and the only way we can promote it is if you're on board to train. Thank you.